All right, and welcome back to the show. I've got an amazing guest today, former coaching client of mine, more importantly, a friend and an amazing business owner. Actually, he owns a few businesses. I have Rick Raanes with the Texas Rockstar Group, powered by eXp Realty. And the topic of today is going to focus on his other business, Sticks and Stones Homes. And we'll dive into exactly what that is. Good morning, Rick.
Hey, good morning, Jeremy. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to visit with you today. I'm pretty excited about some of the things that we've got going on, and love to share the success story that we just recently had.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you on here. Every time that I've done a show with you, whether it's been a video that we've launched or something we've done on social media, I always enjoy what you bring because there's so much value in it. So for those that are listening today, you want to make sure you listen to this whole episode, because Rick is going to drop some knowledge on you that's a little bit outside the box, which I love. And I think you're going to find value you're going to be able to now take and go and implement in your life. So Rick, tell me about Sticks and Stones Homes.
So one of the big opportunities of being in the real estate business is being aware of opportunities that could possibly pop up. The iBuyer programs of the last several years are allowing some sellers to forego the traditional retail listing because they either need a lot of repairs. Timing could be critical, and one of the things that I wanted to do was, one of my coaches from a long time ago, and even something that you and I talked about, is that every real estate agent should go to a listing agreement with the thought process of, how can I buy this house myself? And if it's not something that you can buy, then you go the retail route. But I wanted to have something or another arm to what we were doing for an income producer, and also in the ability to grow passive income. So we created Sticks and Stones Homes, which would allow, it's an LLC, and it allows me to go into a listing appointment and in having that conversation with the client. If there's an opportunity for a win-win situation, it has to be win-win. I'm not going to try to take advantage of someone. However, if there's an opportunity for them to sell the house, which will help them move forward, I want to explore all those opportunities with them. And so we created Sticks and Stones for that particular opportunity.
So I know this started a while back. You had some property and you thought you were going to be there, and then you were going to build, and then you found this opportunity. I think it might have been in the Woodlands, and you were saying, well, I'll just buy it for myself and then I'll remodel it. And then you ended up selling it. Kind of talk to me about that process of, you talk about discovering opportunities.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, I got divorced, and in that process, we did our division of assets and stuff. And so I knew I was kind of back behind the eight ball again of, what do I need to do to create passive income for me as I get into my 60s? And at living outside of the Woodlands, I also wanted to be closer to my daughter. So I got a phone call from a friend, and he was telling me that they were moving to another area in Houston, and they wanted to sell their home, and they visited with some contractors, and all the contractors were telling them that it was going to be anywhere between $80,000 and $100,000 to do some of the work that they felt was necessary. It was a 25-year-old home. It was still very original. There was a few things that they've done mechanically to keep the home in place, but everything else was all original, from kitchen countertops, cabinets, bathrooms, all the showers, the tubs, everything. And it needed a lot of work. Actually, it had original carpet, believe it or not. So we talked about that and whether or not they wanted to invest the money, and quite frankly, they didn't have it. So I looked at this as an opportunity, and I asked him, I said, would you mind if I buy the house? And he's like, well, we would love that, because we know your situation. It'd be great for you to be near your daughter. So we came to an agreement on price. What we ended up doing was we took at the date of the contract, we looked at what market comps were in that particular area. And we took out $100,000 in repairs because we said, if you did this $100,000, this would get you to this particular number. So we reduced that. And I said, and then for my time and trouble, I need to have, a good 10% or so. So we kind of came to that particular number. And one of the benefits of this was the market appreciation that was happening. So my goal was to buy the home, live in it for a year, take my time, still selling real estate, make an extra 5 or 10,000, invest in the home, make an extra little bit of money and continue that investment process. And what ended up happening was the house that I had recently purchased and I knew was going to be an investment property. I put that on the market, found a tenant, secured a tenant, and moved into the other, closed on this one flip property. And I knew the flip was going to take about 12 months. So what happened was another client called and said, "Hey, I understand you bought a home in the Woodlands and you're going to flip it. When do you think you're going to sell it?" And I said, "Oh, well, probably not until 2023. I need to live in it for a while and take some time." I said, I didn't have $100,000 sitting in the bank for the repairs. And even at my cost, it may have been a little bit lower than that, but I didn't have that cash. So, the client and the agent brings the client over to the house, and we chatted about some stuff. What were my goals for the house? What was I planning on doing? And as I was telling her all these things, she said, "That sounds perfect. It's exactly what I'm looking for. What would be your sales price at that point in time?" And I said, "Well, I need to think about it and I'll get back to you." So just like most home sellers today, when they're asked a question, "What's your move price?" Everybody has one. And I came up with a number that I thought was fair. It was a number that was still market comps to kind of what I was expecting to sell the home for. And I called the agent and I said, "Here's where I'm willing to sell the home." And next afternoon, she said, "My client will take it. With what, can they make a couple of other exceptions and make some changes to what you're doing?" I said, "Yes." So we came to an agreement on it, and it shrunk my time from a year to do all this to 60 days because I need time to get all this done. So in 60 days, I had to get really creative on where was I going to find this money. And the things that she was sending me, she wanted a $3,000 refrigerator. She wanted a $1,000 dishwasher. I mean, they're beautiful items, but where was the money going to come from? So anyway, so that's where the fun part of it all kind of came into play. And what happened with some of this stuff was I watched my credit score, which was a really decent credit score, lose almost 120 points because of the additional cash I was seeking. So it was a little bit risky. However, once we got through the end of the process and I was able to cash out on the sale and I paid everything back, my credit scores bounced back up. So it's been fun to watch it go from a 726 down to a 609. And now that everything's paid off, it's coming back up and it's a 693. And I still ended up making a little bit of money to where now this home that I'm closing tomorrow, I have the cash set aside for 100% of the improvements because of the income that I made off the first flip. So, and even with higher interest credit cards, I still made money.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing that I find. I have people call me. We recently started to invest, and I'll get people call, and people have that interest. They're like, "How do you do it?" And we went the more traditional route. We were able to go secure a loan and do that. You went a non-traditional route, yet it still worked out for you. I think you said even with that, you made like 12%.
I did
on the investment, and so Tell me a little bit about how did you do that? Like, I know you had a Lowe's card
Yeah, so the hard money line, ironically, is not something you go type in and you Google hard money loans. I think as real estate agents, and here's where I think is the potential for opportunity for people. If you've had some success, or even if you've got past clients, everybody should know somebody that has available cash. So I went to a friend of mine and I said, "Hey, I have an opportunity. Would you like to be my lender?" And we came up with an agreement because he had some available cash that he wanted to do this. He was also a former investor, but then realized that he could make slightly less money with less risk loaning money than buying and having to deal with a tenant. So we came up with an agreement. We paid a couple of points on the origination points on the loan, and we paid obviously a higher interest rate for the loan than we would have gotten through the traditional route. But there was no stipulations. Like he wasn't checking my credit score. He wasn't checking all these different things. Out of curiosity, he asked me, and I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll pull it up." That's how I know it was a 726 when we closed on the property. But everybody has an opportunity to, ask those types of questions to your sphere of influence. Who would like to be an investor in a property? And maybe you get 2 or 3 different people. But if the volatility of today's market, if you can go to somebody and say, "I've got a real estate investment, I'm also going to put in money in the deal myself." So if the risk for them was lower because I had told them I'm going to put $60,000 to $80,000 in personal money into the project. So even if something were to happen to me, I died, I got into some kind of weird situation, and they had to take over the property, they were still in a pretty equitable position to where they could sell it and get their money back, and possibly even make more than what I had told them that I would give them. So that's the first place. The second part of it was I went to Lowe's and Home Depot because I knew that those were places where I was going to do a lot of shopping. Lowe's offered a 10% on the first order and a 5% continuation on every purchase that you had. Home Depot offered something pretty similar. So I went and tied in my first big purchases to those, and I got 10% off 2 really big major purchases with those companies. And but every time I got added a credit card, my score dropped a little bit. And then I had a couple of other empty credit cards that I was able to purchase other supplies and goods and cabinets and the vanity tops, and then I had contractors that are actually looking for cash, not credit, and so I got a cash advance on my Discover card. So I ended up with 5 credit cards that were full to the brim. So went from no credit debt to $50,000 in credit debt, and and using almost 95% of my credit card available balances, the credit score dropped, and I knew it. And I was watching it drop. And but I was also positive that where I was on my sales price and the income that I would have, that I'd have enough to pay it back.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, right? Is you walked into this having a plan, just like you were running a business or anything else. This is a business. It's an investment. You're wanting to see the return on it. Is you walked into this having a plan, knowing that all these other factors, filling up the credit cards, which would scare most people away from doing it. You knew at the end of the day that final return on that would cover all that and give you the profitability to move on to the next project.
Well, a blessing that I have, Jeremy, is prior to real estate, I was in the contracting business. So I was able to use past experiences and where my budgeting was going to be. But I would say that's always not 100% critical. For someone that wants to do this, the research is available. Partner up with another real estate agent that can help you and guide you in the consulting side of things, and move towards that goal. Because just like any business that's in a startup position, you go to outside investors and you want to make it attractive to them, just like the credit card companies. They're going into business with me. They want a return on what they're giving me. The hard money line wants a return on what they're giving me. So my availability to get into this business, needed funds. So fortunately, was able to make money. Now I've got some set aside. I won't need to borrow as much money. And then as this goes on with each subsequent time, I'm not going to hit a home run every single time either. Like I might hit by one and I end up breaking even, or let's just say I lose a little bit. I'm still in a better spot. So I think most people have to look at the risk and then the reward, and then, make sure, as you mentioned, that the game plan is accurate. But if you're not an agent, partner with one. If you are an agent, figure out how to add additional streams of income, and flipping is a great way to do it, whether it's adding rental properties or actually coming with a buy and flip.
Yeah, and I talked about that recently with somebody, is making sure you have that team, right? And that team may involve a real estate agent, and you need to make sure you have your money team, where are the finances coming from. You need to have your contractors in place that are trusted. And so before even stepping into it, would your recommendation be to have that team in place?
I would encourage people to go to, again, your sphere of influence, ask questions. Who's your favorite painter? Who's your favorite plumber? Who's your favorite carpenter? Who's your favorite cabinet company? Where do you go for these types of things? Having these guys in place before you start projects, and keep in mind, I didn't have the entire layout designed when I went into it. I knew kind of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to make my house look for me. And I was just very fortunate to find a buyer who liked a lot of the things that I was picking out. I didn't have to change flooring. I didn't have to change paint colors. All we changed was some of the door hardware. We changed out some of the faucet selections that she preferred. And then she upgraded the kitchen appliances over what I would have purchased for myself, but which is fine because the house looked amazing when it was all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. So somebody's thinking about investing today, and maybe they're sitting on the fence. What would be your what would you do to encourage them or motivate them to pursue that, knowing that it could create more wealth for them?
Real estate historically has always had opportunities for people. I mean, going back 100 years, think about what homes have appreciated for. We've gone through a really massive appreciation over the last 2 years because of the pandemic issues, with prices for materials and goods driving home prices up. We now have more people in the United States than ever before, and that's growing not only from college kids going into the market. We've got people coming in legally, illegally, both, but there's growth in the United States. And at the end of the day, that's created a housing shortage, and that's not going to stop. We can't build homes fast enough. So what I would encourage somebody to do who's looking at utilizing some cash, there are a lot of different groups that you can get into with syndication. Maybe you don't want to go through all of that stuff, but you've got $25,000 that you could invest $10,000, whatever number that may be. Find different groups that you can partner up with that will potentially offer a slightly higher reward for the completion of these projects. Stock market today will probably, obviously it's dropped. I mean, look at a lot of the different higher valued companies have lost over 50% of their values in the last year. How do you think they feel? They've got to try to figure out how to create that balance back. You've got a lot of people that are afraid of the timing and all that. So there's a lot of cash sitting on the sidelines. Ask friends, ask family members, ask people that you work with if that's anything that they would like to do to create this type of a partnership, and have some fun with it. I would say the most important thing about it is coming up with a good design plan. Look at Pinterest, look at all these things, look to see what homes are selling for, look at what other home flippers are doing that are successful, and then create something for yourself that would allow you to create extra income. It's a wonderful tool to get away from the 9 to 5. You can still keep that if you're in the 9 to 5 business, but then have some fun on the side with it. And obviously, I still run my team and still full time in the sales side of the cycle. And so, I mean, this isn't a full time job for me. It's extra. And I made enough money on this first one that if I had done it full time, I possibly could have had it done faster, but I don't know if I would have had the resources to fund it. So it's kind of one of those catch-22 type things. So I work full time on the sales side of things with the Rockstar Group and eXp Realty. And then the other business with Sticks and Stones, I've dedicated, 5 to 10 hours a week in getting that off the ground.
Yeah, so that's awesome, and really great information for those that are listening. Is there's opportunities. There's always opportunities, and sometimes you just have to look for them. And I think you've provided some information today that might get people to open up their eyes to maybe some opportunities that are right in front of them. So I appreciate that. I know the audience appreciates that. Tell us a little bit about the Texas Rockstar Group.
So we've been around for 5 years. We just completed our 5th year with this particular team name. We were just Rockstar Group before when we were with Keller Williams. But when we switched over to eXp, the opportunity came to embellish the name a little bit. And so the Texas Rockstar Group has 4 agents. Our goal is 100 units a year, and we want to help 100 families either buy or sell. I guess now I'm part of those 100 units because my personal transactions last year, I did 7. So it was fun. I bought some lots. And so now what I want to do is what I'm learning on the flip side of things, and also with having a rental, I'd love to add to my rental portfolio as the years go on. But I want to do more on the investment strategy side of things. And if there's anybody that's looking to get into this, I'd love to meet with people. I want to learn more about their investment goals, how I can help them with real estate investing, and by doing that, will also benefit my team. So if I have clients that are want to grow on the investment side of it, then we can help our team members with sales and in commissions. And it's a win-win for both sides of it all. So I would encourage, if anybody's just thinking about it, wants to know a little bit more information, hey, information's free, and I got a lot of it. And I'd love to see what I can do to help out. I'm not the best. I'm really good at it, and we've had a lot of success through the years. And the 18 years that I've been in the real estate side of things, we've helped over 1,000 families buy and sell. So it's a proud thing that we've accomplished.
Yeah, that's great. And you said you're not the best. You are. There's people tuning in from all parts of the country that listen to the show. What geographic area do they serve? Do you serve?
So we're in the North Houston area, and one of the things that we've recently put a big focus on is really taking the North Houston market and really looking at it with a different eyeballs. Where are some of the little pocket areas where some opportunities may lie. It's not just in the Woodlands. Ultimately, I'd like to plug into the DFW market, the Austin market, and the San Antonio market, but that's going to come as the right people are revealed. But advice anything I can do to help somebody, no matter what part of the country they're in, I'll share my stories and what we've picked out and how we're doing it. And if it can benefit somebody, how we're determining ROI opportunities to how to control costs and where to get some benefits from money, happy to share that.
That's great. So Rick, if somebody is interested in becoming a real estate agent, maybe to participate in the investment side or the sales side, or they're looking to maybe partner with you on an investment deal or learn more about the flipping process, or some of these strategies, how do they reach you? How do they connect?
The best way to reach out to me is simple. I get accused of having my phone with me all the time. I'm not a 24/7 guy, but I get back with people as fast as I can. But my cell phone number is 281-960-1900. That's my direct line. And I'd love to help people in any way I can.
Well, I think you helped a lot of people today. And Rick, I appreciate you being on the show. And I know a lot of people are going to be blessed by this information that they hear today. And I think it'll help some of those people that are sitting on the sidelines. They know that there's opportunity out there in this. They just don't know exactly how to do it. And I think you gave some insight, some really good insight on how it's worked for you and how you've been able to be successful. So thank you again.
Oh man, my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I found a business that I enjoy. I found a business that brings joy to other people, and quite frankly, that's probably the most gratifying piece of what I do. The two people that have bought the two flip properties that we've had in the last couple of years are enjoying it immensely, and that brings me a lot of happiness that they're having a good time in those homes. So. Anyway, another leg of our business structure, and I'm really grateful for you for the coaching and training that you've provided through the years with Red Hawk Coaching, and just Jeremy before Jeremy became a Red Hawk coach. I admire our friendship, and something I value deeply, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my story.
All right, thank you, Rick. Much love to that, and appreciate you. And I look forward to our friendship and all the things we're going to get into together over the years to come.
You got it, my friend. God bless you.